former Houston resident, drowned her 5 children in the bathtub on June 20, 2001. She had severe postpartum depression and psychosis for a while. The Manhattan Rules and the Irresistible Impulse Test, a legal sanity test, were scrutinized in the U.S. after her case. Yates' 2002 capital murder conviction and life sentence with parole after 40 years was overturned on appeal. A Texas jury found Yates not guilty of insanity on July 26, 2006. She was committed by the court to the North Texas State Hospital, Vernon campus, a high-security mental health facility in Vernon, Texas, where she received medical treatment and was a roommate of Dina Schlosser, another woman who committed filicide by killing her infant daughter. Yates was transferred to a Kerrville, Texas, low-security state mental hospital in January 2007. Houston-born Andrea Yates. She is the youngest of 5 children of German immigrant Jetta Karen Kohler and Irish-born Andrew Emmett Kennedy. Yates grew up Catholic. Andrea was a Milby High School graduate. She was valedictorian, swim team captain, and National Honor Society officer. Yates graduated from the University of Texas School of Nursing after a 2-year pre-nursing program at Houston. She was a registered nurse at MD Anderson from 1986 to 1994. She met Russell "Rusty" Yates at Houston's Sunscape Apartments in 1989. They moved in together and married on April 17, 1993, announcing they would seek to have as many babies as nature allowed. They then bought a 4-bedroom Friendswood house. Noah, their first child, was born in February 1994. The family moved to a Seminole trailer after Rusty accepted a job in Florida. By the birth of their 3rd son, Paul, they returned to Houston and bought a GMC motorhome. Andrea depressed after Luke's birth. Her condition was blamed on Michael Peter Warrenicki, the preacher who sold them their bus. Her rapt attention to the minister worried her family. Rusty found Andrea shaking and chewing her fingers on June 16, 1999. She overdosed the next day. Antidepressants and hospitalization followed. After her release, she begged her husband to let her die with a knife to her neck. She received antipsychotic Haldol while hospitalized again. On release, she was prescribed it. For her health, Rusty moved the family to a small house. Andrea stabilized briefly. A nervous breakdown in July 1999 led to 2 suicide attempts and 2 psychiatric hospitalizations. Postpartum psychosis. Dr. Eileen Starbranch, her first psychiatrist, told the couple that having more children would guarantee future psychotic depression. 7 weeks after her discharge, they conceived their 5th and final child. She stopped taking Haldol in March 2000 and had daughter Mary on November 30th. She was doing well until her father died on March 12, 2001. She stopped taking medication, self-mutilated, and read the Bible voraciously. She stopped feeding Mary, her youngest. Yates needed hospitalization. Dr. Mohammed Saeed took over on April 1, 2001. She was discharged. She descended into a near catatonic state on May 3, 2001, and took a bath in the middle of the day. She later confessed to police that she had planned to drown the children that day but decided not to. After a doctor visit, her psychiatrist diagnosed her as suicidal and hospitalized her. Dr. Saeed cared for Yates until June 20, 2001, when Rusty left for work, leaving her alone to watch the children. Rusty's mother, Dora Yates, was supposed to arrive an hour later. She drowned 5 children in an hour. She drowned the youngest boys in her bathtub and laid them in her bed. She drowned Mary, leaving her in the tub. Noah, her oldest son, inquired about Mary. She chased him and drowned him. She left him in the tub and placed Mary in her brother's arms. She then called police. She repeated "it's time" to Rusty. Yates admitted drowning her kids. She told Dr. Michael Wellner that she waited for Rusty to leave for work that morning before filling the bathtub because she knew he would have prevented her from harming the children. After the killings, police found the family dog locked up. Rusty told Wellner that it had normally been allowed to run free and was when he left the house that morning, leading the psychiatrist to conclude that she caged it to prevent it from interfering with her killing the children one by one. The defense's expert testified that Yates was psychotic, but Texas law requires the defendant to prove that he or she could not distinguish right from wrong at the time of the crime. A jury found her guilty of insanity in March 2002. The jury rejected the prosecution's death penalty request. The trial court sentenced her to life in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice with parole eligibility in 40 years. Because California psychiatrist and prosecution witness Dr. Park Dietz admitted to giving materially false testimony, a Texas Court of Appeals reversed the convictions on January 6, 2005. Dietz said a Law and Order episode had aired shortly before the killings about a woman who drowned her children and was acquitted of murder by insanity. The appellate court ordered a new trial after Oprah magazine writer Suzanne O'Malley reported that no such episode occurred. Yates pleaded insanity again on January 9, 2006. She was released on bail on February 1, 2006, if she entered a mental health facility. Texas law found Yates not guilty by reason of insanity on July 26, 2006, after 3 days of deliberations. North Texas State Hospital Vernon campus took her in. Yates was transferred to a Kerrville, Texas, low-security state mental hospital in January 2007. Although psychiatrists for both the Texas state prosecutors and Yates' defense lawyers agreed that she was severely mentally ill with one of several psychotic diseases when she killed her children, the state of Texas claimed that she was legally aware enough to judge her actions as right or wrong. Despite defense experts' denials, the prosecution implied spousal revenge as a motive. The original jury believed she was legally aware of her actions but disagreed that her motive was spousal revenge. The 2006 jury overturned her 2002 conviction after rejecting the prosecution's claims. Teenage Andrea was bulimic. At 17, she discussed suicide with a friend due to depression. Andrea said she considered killing the children for 2 years in prison because they thought she was a bad mother and her sons were developing improperly. Her jail psychiatrist, 7th deadly sin. My kids sinned. I tripped them. My parenting style doomed them. Hell would consume them. She told her jail psychiatrist that Satan made her children more disobedient. In 2006 trial testimony, Dr. Saeed advised Rusty, a former NASA engineer, not to leave his patient unattended. In the weeks before the drownings, he left her alone with the children for short periods of time to improve her independence. At a family gathering the weekend before the drownings, he announced that he would leave her home alone for an hour each morning and evening so she would not become completely dependent on him and his mother for her maternal duties. On CNN's Larry King Live, her brother Brian Kennedy said Rusty told him in 2001 while transporting her to Devereux Treatment Facility that depressed people needed a swift kick in the pants to get motivated. At the gathering, her mother, Jutta Karen Kennedy, was shocked by Rusty's plan and said she wasn't stable enough to care for the children. She noted that her daughter nearly choked her still toothless infant daughter Mary by feeding her solid food. According to authors Susie Spencer and Suzanne O'Malley, who extensively researched her story, Dr. Saeed first learned that she was not being supervised full-time during a phone call to Rusty during the breaking news of the killings. Dr. Eileen Starbranch, Andrea's first psychiatrist, was shocked when the Yates asked her to stop her medications so she could get pregnant again. She advised against having more children, writing in the medical record 2 days later, "Patient and husband want as many children as nature allows." Psychotic depression is assured. She became pregnant with her 5th child, Mary, 7 weeks after Dr. Starbranch discharged her on January 12, 2000. She told her jail psychiatrist, Dr. Melissa Ferguson, that before their last child, she had told Rusty that she did not want to have sex because Dr. Starbranch had said she might hurt her children. She said Rusty simply asserted his procreative religious beliefs, complimented her as a good mother, and convinced her she could handle more children. Susan O'Malley noted Russell Yates' continued denial about having more children. He successfully argued Andrea's innocence during the trial. He dreamed of having more children with her after she was successfully treated in a mental health facility and released on medication. Before accepting reality, he tried surrogate motherhood and adoption, horrifying Andrea's family, attorneys, and Houston psychiatrists. Dr. Saeed, a psychiatrist, was responsible for diagnosing and treating his wife's psychosis, not Rusty Yates. He also claimed that Dr. Saeed had refused to continue her Haldol treatment, which had helped her during her 1999 breakdown, despite his request to check her medical records. He added that she was too sick to leave her last hospital stay in May 2001. He saw staff lower their heads in shame and turn away without saying a word. Blue Cross Blue Shield, subcontracted by Magellan Health Services, limited the hospital to a 10-day psychiatric hospitalization. Rusty and her birth family believed Dr. Saeed's improper prescribing of antidepressants in the days before the tragedy caused Andrea's violent, psychotic behavior. In 2005, EFEGSOR's warning label added homicidal ideation as a rare adverse event, according to Dr. Moira Dolan, executive director of the Medical Accountability Network. She said Yates had been taking 450 milligrams, twice the recommended maximum, for a month before killing her children. Rusty requested Dr. Dolan review Yates' medical records. Dr. Lucy Pure, an expert witness hired by Yates' defense team, said Dr. Saeed's antidepressant dosages are common and had nothing to do with her re-emergent psychosis. She said her psychosis returned after her doctor stopped Haldol 2 weeks earlier. Haldol, the oral form of haloperidol, takes 4 to 6 days after discontinuation to reach a terminal plasma level of under 1.5%, a medical standard for complete drug elimination. Media outlets blamed Michael Peter Warnicki, a traveling preacher Rusty had met at Auburn University, for the death due to his fire and brimstone message and certain teachings in his newsletter The Perilous Times, which was entered into evidence at the trial. Rusty and Warnicki denied these charges. Rusty claimed that Warnicki did not cause her delusions and that his family did not know them well. Warnicki wrote to them to strengthen their marriage and find the love he says his family found in Jesus. Both men agreed that his message and her mental state were nothing more than media-created fiction. The Yates family's quiverful lifestyle, which promotes having many children, may have caused her mental and emotional stress. Her isolation has been attributed to a lack of community.